David and Lisa Hallberg seemed like the perfect couple. Married for 25 years, raising 2 kids, and building a quiet, happy life in their small town. But beneath the surface of their picture-perfect marriage lurked a secret that would shatter everything David thought he knew. For a quarter of a century, Lisa was living a double life, cheating on her husband with a man from her past. When David finally uncovered the truth, it was too late to save their family, and the fallout would change their lives forever. David and Lisa Hallberg's life seemed perfect to everyone who knew them. They lived in Willow Creek, a quiet town where everyone said hello on the street and looked out for one another. David was a high school history teacher, a man who loved books and stories about the past. He was known for his gentle voice and kind smile. Lisa ran a small flower shop downtown. She had a way with plants that made every bouquet she arranged seem magical. The two had been married for over 25 years, and their relationship was seen as a shining example of commitment and love. From the outside, their life was like a storybook. They had 2 children, Sarah and Michael, both grown now and away at college. The family celebrated every holiday with big dinners, laughter, and warmth that spilled into the neighborhood. David and Lisa often hosted barbecues in their backyard, inviting neighbors, friends, and co-workers. People admired how close they seemed, how they supported each other. If anyone asked, David and Lisa would say they were deeply in love and that their marriage was built on trust. But beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect life, there was an invisible divide, a secret that no one suspected. David believed in the vows he took decades ago, promising to be faithful, loving, and true. He thought Lisa felt the same. He never had a reason to doubt her. Lisa, on the other hand, carried a secret burden. It was a burden that started long before their wedding day, a part of her past she never shared with David. When they met, Lisa was young and full of hope, but her life before David had been complicated. She had fallen in love with a man named Martin, someone she met in her early 20s. That relationship ended, or so David thought, when she met him. But in reality, Lisa never truly let Martin go. At first, the secret was a whisper in the back of her mind, a memory she tried to bury. But over time, the whisper grew louder, and the past began to pull her back. Instead of choosing to end things, Lisa made a choice that would shape the next 25 years of her life. She began living 2 lives. One with David, the loving husband and father, and one with Martin, a hidden world she carefully protected. Lisa's life with Martin was a quiet affair, hidden in plain sight. She claimed frequent weekend trips were to visit her sister in a nearby city, a story David never questioned. She was careful, always planning her absences when David was busy or working late. The town knew Lisa as a devoted wife and mother, so no one suspected her secret. David was happy. He worked hard, often staying late at school grading papers and planning lessons. He was proud of his family, proud of his children's achievements, and content with the steady rhythm of his life. He noticed Lisa's occasional absences, but never worried. Trust was the foundation of their marriage, and he didn't want to ruin the life they had built by doubting her. Lisa's flower shop was her public face, a place where she poured her creativity and charm. The shop was beautiful, filled with roses, lilies, and orchids arranged like works of art. Customers loved her, often stopping to chat about the latest bouquet or upcoming weddings. But behind the counter, Lisa's mind was often elsewhere, thinking of Martin, their secret meetings, and the double life she had created. Their children grew up in this world of appearances. Sarah and Michael remembered their mother's warmth, their father's steady presence, and the family vacations that felt like perfect memories. Neither child ever suspected the truth lurking beneath their family's happy exterior. For David, life moved forward in steady, predictable ways. He took pride in his teaching, enjoyed weekend hikes, and supported his children's dreams. Yet he never realized that behind the smiles and kindness, Lisa was living a lie. He didn't see the coded messages, the hidden phone calls, or the careful planning it took for Lisa to keep her secret alive. The story of David and Lisa's marriage was one of trust, love, and betrayal. But in these early years, no one could have imagined how deep the betrayal ran. To David, Lisa was his wife, his partner, the woman who shared his dreams and fears. But to Lisa, there were two worlds, one built on truth and one built on deception. As the years went on, this hidden life grew more complicated, but no cracks appeared on the surface. Friends, family, and neighbors all believed in the fairy tale. David never dreamed the woman he loved was living a lie so carefully crafted that it would take 25 years before the truth finally broke through, shattering the life he thought he knew. Let me know if you want me to continue with the next chapter or add anything else. As the years went by, Lisa's double life became more carefully hidden. David still trusted her completely. He believed every excuse she gave for the times she was away, whether it was a weekend trip to visit her sister or an overnight stay for a floral convention. Lisa was careful never to slip up. She made sure her phone was off during these trips, never answered calls when David was nearby, and always had a believable story ready. David's days were filled with teaching, grading papers, and helping students with their projects. His evenings were spent preparing dinner, reading books, or watching TV with Lisa. Sometimes, he noticed her seeming distant or distracted, but he blamed it on stress from work or the flower shop. He thought nothing of it. Trust was the foundation of their marriage, and he didn't want to be the husband who doubted his wife. Lisa's secret relationship with Martin was a hidden thread woven into her daily routine. She kept a separate phone, one David had never seen, and a second email account she accessed only when David was asleep. Their meetings were carefully scheduled, late nights at small cafes, weekend trips to cities a few hours away, and even quiet afternoons in parks where no one would recognize them. Martin was not just a brief affair. He was someone Lisa had loved deeply before marrying David. Even after their wedding, she found herself drawn back to Martin again and again. It was a connection she couldn't break, no matter how much guilt she felt. Over time, the feelings she once thought were gone grew stronger, and the two lovers built a private world that existed alongside Lisa's family life. David never suspected a thing. The man he trusted completely was invisible to him. Lisa's careful lies, her secret trips, and her hidden phone calls never raised alarms. Even close friends who asked about Lisa's absences accepted her stories without question. No one knew the truth. The longer the secret went on, the harder it became for Lisa to keep the two lives separate. There were moments when David almost caught her. A text message accidentally left open on a screen, a call from a number he didn't recognize, or a sudden change in her schedule. Each time, Lisa found a way to cover her tracks, to explain away doubts with smiles and reassurances. Martin, too, was careful. He knew that if David ever found out, their world would collapse. So he stayed in the background, always out of sight. He watched Lisa's family from a distance, sometimes jealous, sometimes sad, but always patient. Their love was a secret that had survived time and distance, but it was fragile, built on lies and stolen moments. David's life was full of small routines. He taught his classes, helped his children with college applications, and supported Lisa's flower shop. He was proud of the business she built, often telling friends how talented she was. What he didn't know was that Lisa's flower shop was also a place where part of her double life was funded. She was careful to manage the money, so David never noticed anything unusual. Financial records showed nothing suspicious at first glance. Lisa paid the bills, managed the household expenses, and contributed to their savings. But behind the scenes, money was moving in secret. Over the years, Lisa had created a hidden account, funneling money away without David's knowledge. It was her secret stash, funding trips to see Martin, paying for hotel rooms, dinners, and gifts. David's world was safe, comfortable, and normal on the outside. Inside, though, there were cracks forming. Small, invisible cracks that would one day break open. He was unaware of how deeply the web of lies had grown around him, and how much of his life had been shaped by deception. Lisa's carefully balanced life began to take a toll on her. Keeping secrets for 25 years was exhausting. The fear of being discovered was always there. She worried about what would happen if David found out, but she couldn't stop. Martin was a part of her, and letting go seemed impossible. Despite the hidden pain, Lisa maintained her role in the family. She was a loving mother, attending school events, helping with homework, and celebrating birthdays and holidays. To everyone around them, the Hallbergs were the perfect family. But beneath the surface, Lisa's secret world grew larger, more dangerous, and impossible to ignore forever. David continued to live in trust and hope, unaware of the shadow lurking in his marriage. He never dreamed that the woman he had loved for 25 years was leading a secret life, one that would soon be exposed, changing everything he believed about love, trust, and family. Let me know if you'd like me to continue with Chapter 3, or adjust anything. David's life carried on in a steady rhythm, marked by the passing of seasons, school years, and family milestones. He never suspected that a simple household chore would be the moment everything changed. One rainy afternoon, while cleaning out the attic, David found an old digital camera tucked away in a dusty box. It had been forgotten for years, buried under old photo albums and holiday decorations. Curious, he turned it on, expecting to see some old family pictures. At first, there were snapshots of birthday parties, vacations, and smiling faces of their children growing up. But as he scrolled through the images, his heart started pounding. There were photos of Lisa, alone and happy in places he didn't recognize. Then came a picture that froze him in place, a candid shot of Lisa sitting on a park bench, holding hands with a man David had never seen. The man was not someone from their circle of friends or family. David had never heard Lisa mention him. The date stamped on the photo was a blow. It was taken 10 years earlier, on their wedding anniversary. Lisa had told David she was at a floral convention that weekend. The lie hit David like a physical blow. Why had she kept this from him? Why had she hidden this man from his life? At first, David tried to dismiss it. Maybe it was an old friend or a distant relative. But as he looked more closely, he noticed the way Lisa's fingers intertwined with the man's in the photo. This was no casual acquaintance. The image spoke of intimacy, of a secret relationship that had been going on long before he ever knew. David's mind raced with questions. He felt a mix of shock, confusion, and deep sadness. For years, he had trusted Lisa without question. Now, a silent betrayal stared him in the face. He wondered how many times she had lied, how many moments he had missed while she was living a double life. Driven by a growing need for answers, David began searching through their home more carefully. He found hidden letters tucked away in the back of a drawer, letters written in a handwriting he did not recognize, full of love and longing. He found receipts for hotels and restaurants in cities miles from Willow Creek, Dates when Lisa had said she was working late or visiting friends. Most unsettling of all was a second phone, cleverly hidden inside the lining of an old coat in their closet. The phone was locked, but with some effort, David managed to access it. Inside were messages and photos, proof of a relationship that spanned decades. The phone held texts between Lisa and the man from the photo, Martin, filled with secret plans and private moments. David felt the ground shift beneath him. Every piece of evidence painted the same picture. Lisa had been living a lie for 25 years. The woman he had trusted, loved, and shared his life with was hiding a deep secret. The betrayal was more than emotional. It was a complete double life that he had never suspected. Despite the shock, David knew he had to find out the full truth. He hired a private investigator, someone who could quietly look into Lisa's activities without raising suspicion. The investigator uncovered a trail of meetings, hotel stays, and hidden accounts. The relationship between Lisa and Martin wasn't just a past affair. It had continued uninterrupted for a quarter of a century. It became clear that Lisa and Martin had managed to build their own world, one hidden from David and everyone else. They had rented apartments together in different cities, traveled on secret vacations, and shared a life behind closed doors. What David once thought was a picture-perfect marriage was, in fact, a carefully constructed lie. The financial deception was just as severe. The investigator found that Lisa had been funneling money from their joint accounts into secret ones. Over the years, nearly $180,000 had disappeared, money that David thought was saved for their children's education, retirement, and their family's future. Instead, it had paid for her secret life. David struggled with the overwhelming sense of loss. He was not only betrayed emotionally, but also financially. The life he had planned, the dreams he had shared with Lisa, were suddenly shattered. The woman he believed to be his partner had been living a lie right under his nose. Yet, despite the heartbreak, David felt a quiet strength growing inside him. He realized that knowing the truth, painful as it was better than living in ignorance. This new knowledge gave him power to confront the reality, seek justice, and reclaim control over his life. What David didn't know was that by the time he uncovered the truth, it was already too late. Lisa had planned her escape carefully. She was prepared to vanish, taking the secret life she had built for herself and Martin with her. The truth, once uncovered, would not bring closure. It would only begin a new chapter of pain and uncertainty. As David stood alone in the quiet attic, staring at the camera that revealed his wife's betrayal, he understood one harsh reality. The trust he had given freely for 25 years had been broken, and there was no going back to the way things were. Let me know if you want me to continue with Chapter 4 or tweak anything. The truth that David uncovered was only the beginning of a nightmare that stretched far beyond what he could have imagined. With the help of the private investigator, the full scope of Lisa's secret life came to light, and it was more devastating than he had feared. Martin, the man who had shared Lisa's hidden world, was not just a secret lover. He was her partner in a long, complicated deception. Over the years, they had built a life together in the shadows, carefully avoiding detection, sharing moments and money without David's knowledge. David learned that Martin and Lisa had maintained a rental apartment in another city, where they spent weekends and holidays away from prying eyes. They traveled together under assumed names, stayed in hotels that wouldn't require identification, and planned vacations to distant places where no one knew them. These trips were funded by the secret account Lisa had opened years ago, an account David had no idea existed. The financial betrayal was crushing. The private investigator traced the money Lisa had withdrawn from their joint accounts and revealed that she had secretly funneled nearly $180,000 over the years into this hidden account. This was money that David had believed was going toward their family's future. College tuition, home repairs, retirement savings. Instead, it was being spent on a double life that shattered everything he thought he knew. This discovery left David feeling betrayed on every level. It wasn't just the emotional pain of her unfaithfulness. It was the realization that the life they built together had been carefully manipulated. His wife had been living two lives, and he had been blind to it all. The deeper the investigation went, the more David uncovered. Lisa had gone to great lengths to hide her tracks. She used cash for many transactions, paid bills separately, and kept her secret communications on encrypted apps. Even her flower shop, the business she loved and built, was used to mask some of the money transfers. To the outside world, it was a successful, well-run business. To David, it was a painful reminder of the deception. As the evidence mounted, David faced a growing dilemma. Confronting Lisa meant risking the collapse of his family, but keeping silent would mean living a lie for the rest of his life. He wanted answers, but more than that, he wanted to understand why Lisa had done this. The man at the center of it all, Martin, was a mystery. David discovered that Martin had been in and out of Lisa's life since before her marriage. They had known each other for decades, and even when Lisa married David, she never truly ended things with Martin. Over the years, their relationship evolved into a secret partnership, one built on love, but also on lies and shared deceit. David's mind struggled to accept that the woman he thought he knew had created this other life. The betrayal felt like a slow, painful wound, one that grew deeper with every new piece of information. With the truth now out in the open, David prepared to confront Lisa. But before he could do so, she disappeared. Overnight, she packed her things and left their family home without a word. The flower shop was closed, and all attempts to contact her went unanswered. David was left alone, grappling with the ruins of a life that no longer made sense. The realization hit him hard. Lisa had planned her escape long before he discovered the truth. She had known that her secret was at risk, and chose to vanish rather than face the consequences. In the days that followed, the police were called in. A search began, and the private investigator tracked Lisa and Martin to a small resort town in Belize. They were living under false names, trying to start a new life far from Willow Creek. Authorities moved quickly. Within weeks, Lisa and Martin were arrested and extradited back to the United States. They faced charges of fraud and financial theft, crimes that carried serious consequences. Their long, secret partnership was finally exposed, not just to David, but to the world. David watched as the woman he had loved was taken away in handcuffs. The justice system would punish her for the money she stole. But nothing could heal the wounds left behind. His family was broken, his trust shattered. The hardest part was not the court cases or the financial loss. It was the loss of a dream, the life he thought he had shared with Lisa. Their children struggled to understand how their mother could lead such a double life. Friends and neighbors whispered in disbelief. The Hallberg family's perfect image was gone, replaced by a story of betrayal and heartbreak. David moved out of the house they once shared. The rooms that had held so many memories now felt empty and cold. He found a small apartment nearby, a place where he could begin to rebuild his life, piece by piece. Though Lisa was sentenced to prison for 8 years and Martin received 10, the emotional scars ran much deeper. David faced years of healing ahead, carrying the weight of the past, but determined to find a future beyond the pain. The story of Lisa's secret double life and betrayal became a cautionary tale in Willow Creek, a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and sometimes the deepest wounds come from those we trust most. Would you like me to proceed with Chapter 5? The moment Lisa vanished, David realized that everything he thought he had was gone. The life they had built together was no longer real. The house that once felt like a home had become a silent reminder of betrayal. The memories that filled its walls were now tainted by secrets and lies. David felt lost, standing alone in the ruins of a marriage that had lasted 25 years, only to end in betrayal and heartbreak. David's children, Sarah and Michael, were devastated. Growing up, they had seen their parents as the perfect couple. Their mother had been loving, their father dependable. To learn that their mother had been living a double life shook the family to its core. Trust was broken, not just between David and Lisa, but within the family itself. Sarah struggled to understand how her mother could have hidden such a secret for so long. Michael, once close to both parents, found himself angry and confused. The family holidays, the birthdays, the shared moments, all seemed like parts of a story that had never really been true. David tried to keep the family together, but the damage ran deep. Lisa's betrayal wasn't just about cheating. It was about years of deception, lies, and stolen money. The financial ruin she left behind made it harder to move on. The hidden account and the money siphoned away meant that plans for the future were shattered. College funds were depleted, retirement savings drained. Even as Lisa faced prison time, the emotional wounds remained fresh. The legal battles took their toll on David. Court hearings, affidavits, and the public exposure of their family's darkest secret were humiliating and exhausting. The woman he had loved was now a criminal, convicted of fraud and financial theft. David's life changed completely. He left the family home and moved to a small apartment on the edge of town. The quiet was different here, less filled with memories, but also less painful. It was a fresh start, but a lonely one. He avoided relationships, unsure if he could ever trust again. The idea of love felt distant, complicated by the pain he carried. Lisa's release on parole 6 years later brought more questions than answers. Where had she gone? What kind of life was she living now? David never received any answers. Lisa disappeared again, this time from his life forever. No phone calls, no letters, no explanations. Her whereabouts remained a mystery. For David, the past became a cautionary tale. He learned to live with the pain and betrayal, but he also grew stronger. He found solace in his work, in friendships, and in the quiet moments alone. The wounds healed slowly, but the scars remained as reminders of the love lost and the trust broken. David often reflected on how a marriage that had seemed so perfect could hide such darkness. The lessons he learned were painful but clear. Trust must be earned. Secrets can destroy even the strongest bonds. And sometimes, the truth comes too late to save what once was. The town of Willow Creek, too, changed in subtle ways. The story of the Hallbergs spread quietly, a whispered reminder that appearances could deceive. Neighbors looked more closely, friends grew cautious, and the idea of a perfect family was no longer taken at face value. David never remarried. He lived quietly, focusing on his own healing and the futures of his children. Over time, he built a new life, one shaped by honesty and resilience. He remained hopeful that one day, trust and love could find him again. But for now, he was content with the peace he had found. The story of Lisa and David Hallberg is a tragic one, filled with love, betrayal, and loss. It is a reminder that sometimes the people we think we know best can hide the deepest secrets, and that discovering those secrets can come too late to save what truly matters.